The alarm rang through Research Station Kepler 442 at exactly 0600 hours. Captain Jake Morrison rolled out of his bed and grabbed his uniform. 3 years of working with aliens had taught him that emergency calls usually meant something very interesting or very dangerous was about to happen. Jake walked quickly to the command center. The main screen showed a map of the nearby star systems, with a red blinking dot on an unnamed moon. Dr. Zeftai was already there, his 6 legs moving nervously as he studied the readings. The Velthari scientist looked like a giant praying mantis, but Jake had learned not to judge aliens by their appearance. "What do we have, Doctor?" Jake asked. Zeftai's compound eyes turned toward him. "A distress signal from one of our research ships. The vessel crashed on that moon 2 days ago." His voice carried a strange vibration that Jake recognized as worry. Commander Lisa Hayes entered the room, her security uniform neat despite the early hour. She had been Jake's second-in-command for 2 years, and he trusted her judgment completely. Behind her came Crix, the small furry Thekanari engineer whose ears twitched when he was nervous. Right now they were twitching very fast. "How many survivors?" Lisa asked. 4 researchers, Zeftai replied. "But Captain Morrison, there is a problem. A very serious problem." Jake noticed that Crix had moved closer to the wall, his small body trembling. Other alien crew members in the command center had also stepped back. Whatever this problem was, it scared them badly. "Tell me," Jake said. Zeftai's antennae drooped. The last message from the ship mentioned a creature. The research team encountered what they classified as a Class 9 apex predator. The room went silent. Jake looked around and saw that every alien in the command center had frozen. Some of the smaller species had actually hidden behind equipment. Even the normally calm Velthari technicians had stopped working. "What exactly is a Class 9 apex predator?" Lisa asked. Zeftai's voice dropped to almost a whisper. "The most dangerous classification in our system. Creatures with massive claws, razor-sharp teeth, and hunting calls that can paralyze prey from fear alone. They hunt in coordinated groups and show no mercy to any living thing." Crix made a small whimpering sound. "The transmission said the creature killed 3 researchers already. The survivors are trapped in their emergency shelter." Jake frowned. Something about this felt familiar, but he could not place it. "How big is this creature?" "The size of a small transport vehicle," Zeftai said. "Dark fur, glowing eyes, and claws that can tear through metal." The survivors reported hearing its hunting snarl echoing through the forest around their ship. Lisa raised an eyebrow and glanced at Jake. He caught her look and nodded slightly. They had both grown up on Earth, where creatures with claws, teeth, and intimidating sounds were not automatically classified as unstoppable killers. "We need to mount a rescue mission," Jake announced. Every alien in the room started talking at once, their voices mixing into a chorus of panic and protest. Zeftai raised his front arms for silence. "Captain Morrison, with respect, no rescue mission has ever succeeded against a Class 9 predator. The creature will hunt down and kill any rescue team." "We cannot abandon our people," Jake said firmly. "I will lead a small team to the surface. Dr. Zeftai, I need you with us. You know your people and their equipment." Zeftai's entire body shook. "Captain, I cannot. The fear response is too strong. My species has evolved to avoid these creatures at all costs." Lisa stepped forward. "Doctor, your people are counting on you. We will protect you." "How?" Zeftai asked. "Humans have no natural defenses against such a predator. You have no claws, no armor, no speed. You will be killed first and then the creature will take us." Jake almost smiled. Aliens always underestimated humans because they looked at their physical abilities. They never considered human intelligence, adaptability, or the strange, human tendency to make friends with dangerous creatures. "Crix," Jake called to the engineer, "I need you to prepare the shuttle for a surface mission. Dr. Zeftai, gather all the information you have about your people's equipment and the creature's behavior patterns." "Captain," Zeftai said desperately, "you do not understand. The creature's hunting call alone can stop a being's heart from terror. The sound is designed by evolution to freeze prey in place." Lisa tilted her head. What does this hunting call sound like? A deep, rumbling growl that builds to a terrifying roar. It echoes through the victim's bones and triggers every survival instinct to run. But the fear is so great that the body cannot move. Jake and Lisa exchanged another look. This was definitely sounding familiar now. "We leave in 2 hours," Jake announced. "Lisa, get Sam Rodriguez from the pilot bay. His tracking skills might be useful. Crix, make sure the shuttle has emergency medical supplies and extra communication equipment." As the aliens reluctantly began preparations, Zeftai approached Jake privately. "Captain, I must ask you something. Are humans truly not afraid of Class 9 predators?" Jake considered the question carefully. "Doctor, humans learned long ago that the most dangerous-looking creatures are not always the most dangerous. Sometimes understanding a creature's behavior is more important than fearing its appearance. But the claws, the teeth, the hunting, are tools," Jake finished. "The question is not what tools a creature has, but how it chooses to use them." Zeftai stared at him with all of his compound eyes. "You speak as if you have encountered such creatures before." Jake smiled. "Doctor, humans have been dealing with creatures that have claws, teeth, and intimidating voices for thousands of years. We call them dogs, and they sleep in our beds." The Velthari scientist's antennae nearly fell off his head in shock. 2 hours later, the rescue shuttle launched toward the unnamed moon, carrying a human crew that was curious rather than terrified, and one very nervous alien scientist who was beginning to wonder if humans might be the most dangerous predators in the galaxy after all. The shuttle landed on the moon's surface with a soft thud. Through the windows, Jake could see a thick forest filled with strange blue and purple plants that glowed softly in the dim light. The trees were massive, easily 3 times taller than Earth trees, and their branches created a thick canopy overhead. Sam Rodriguez checked the shuttle's instruments. "Air is breathable. Gravity is about 90% of Earth normal," he reported. Sam had grown up on a cattle ranch in Texas and knew how to track almost anything. Jake had specifically requested him for this mission. Dr. Zeftai sat in the corner of the shuttle, his entire body shaking. "The crashed ship is 2 kilometers north of here," he said in a trembling voice. "But Captain, I am detecting the creature's presence all around us." "What kind of signs?" Lisa asked, checking her equipment. "Claw marks on the trees, scent markings, and—" Zeftai paused, listening. "Do you hear that?" Everyone went quiet. In the distance, they could hear a low rumbling sound, like thunder, rolling across the sky. But it was not thunder. The sound had a rhythm to it, rising and falling in a pattern that seemed almost like communication. Crix, the small engineer, had curled up into a ball. "That is the hunting call," he whispered. "The creature knows we are here." Jake opened the shuttle door and stepped outside. The forest smelled like pine trees and rain, familiar and peaceful. He took a deep breath and smiled. "Come on, everyone. Let us go find our people." Sam was the first to follow Jake outside. He immediately knelt down and began studying the ground. "Well, would you look at that?" he said, pointing to marks in the soft dirt. "What do you see?" Lisa asked. "Tracks. Big ones." Sam stood up and brushed dirt off his hands. "But they are not what I expected." Zeftai forced himself to approach, though he stayed close to the shuttle. "What do you mean?" "These tracks show a walking pattern, not a hunting pattern. The creature is not stalking or searching, it is just moving through the area normally." Sam pointed to different marks. "And look here, smaller tracks probably. A young one." The rumbling sound came again, closer this time. All the aliens immediately moved back toward the shuttle, but the humans stood their ground, listening carefully. "That is not a hunting call," Lisa said quietly. "Jake, does that sound familiar to you?" Jake nodded. "Very familiar. But let us keep moving toward the crash site." They began walking through the forest, following a path that the crashed ship had made when it fell through the trees. The aliens stayed in the middle of the group, jumping at every sound. Sam walked ahead, reading the signs that the creature had left behind. "This is interesting," Sam called back. The creature has been following this same path multiple times, but look at this. He pointed to a tree that had deep claw marks in its bark. These marks are not from attacking something. They are territory markers. Territory markers? Zeftai asked. The creature is telling other animals that this area is protected. It is not threatening us. It is warning other dangers to stay away. Another rumbling call echoed through the forest, and this time it was answered by a higher-pitched sound from a different direction. Lisa stopped walking. There are at least two of them, an adult and a young one based on the different tones. As they got closer to the crash site, they began seeing more signs of the creature's presence. Broken branches where something large had passed through, more claw marks on trees, and scattered around the area were piles of local fruits and what looked like small dead animals. Food caches, Sam observed. The creature is storing food near the crash site. Why would it do that? Crix asked nervously. Jake was beginning to understand. Because it thinks someone might be hungry. They reached the top of a small hill and could finally see the crashed Velthari ship in the valley below. The vessel had torn through several trees before coming to rest against a large boulder. Its hull was dented but appeared intact, and moving around the ship was the Class 9 Apex Predator. Jake pulled out his binoculars and focused on the creature. It was indeed large, about the size of a small car. Its fur was dark gray with lighter patches, and it moved with a fluid grace that spoke of power and intelligence. When it lifted its head, Jake could see amber-colored eyes, and yes, very impressive, teeth. But something was wrong with the picture the aliens had painted. Lisa, Jake whispered, handing her the binoculars. Look at its body language. Lisa studied the creature for a long moment. Its ears are not pinned back aggressively. Its tail is not stiff. And the way it is walking. She paused. Jake, it is circling the ship, but not like a predator. More like a guard. What do you mean? Zeftai asked, too frightened to look through the binoculars himself. Watch how it moves, Lisa explained. It approaches the ship gently, sniffs around the hull, then moves away. It is checking on something, not hunting. The creature let out another one of its rumbling calls, but now that they were closer, Jake could hear the subtle differences in tone. It was not a threatening sound. It was almost questioning, like the creature was trying to communicate with whoever might be inside the ship. Sam, Jake said, what does your tracking experience tell you about this animal's behavior? Sam had been watching the creature through his own binoculars. Captain, I have seen this exact behavior before. This animal is not hunting. It is worried. Suddenly, a smaller version of the creature appeared from behind the crashed ship. It was clearly young, maybe half the size of the adult, and it was playing with something shiny near the ship's hull. Oh my, Lisa breathed. Jake, look at what the young one is doing. The juvenile creature had found pieces of metal that had broken off the ship during the crash. Instead of ignoring them or scattering them around, it was carefully arranging them in neat piles near the ship's entrance. It is trying to help, Jake realized. The young one is trying to fix the ship. The adult creature noticed the juvenile's activity and made a soft, chuffing sound that was clearly approval. Then it picked up one of the metal pieces in its mouth and gently placed it with the others. Zeftai's compound eyes went wide. That is impossible. Class 9 predators do not exhibit helpful behavior. They kill and consume. That is their nature. Maybe, Jake said quietly. Your classification system needs some updating. The rumbling call came again, and this time Jake understood what he was hearing. It was not a hunting cry or a threat display. It was the sound of a concerned animal, trying to communicate with beings it could not reach, hoping they were still alive inside their damaged shelter. We need to make contact, Jake decided. But first, let us try to talk to the survivors and find out exactly what happened here. As they prepared to approach the crash site, the adult creature suddenly stopped its patrol and looked directly at their position on the hill. For a moment, predator and human stared at each other across the distance. The creature tilted its head slightly, its ears perking up with what looked remarkably like curiosity. Then it made a soft rumbling sound. That seemed almost like a greeting. Jake smiled. Hello to you too, big guy. Jake led his team down the hill toward the crashed ship. The adult creature watched them approach but did not run away or show any signs of aggression. Instead, it moved to one side, giving them space while keeping its amber eyes fixed on the new arrivals. It is not attacking, Zephatai whispered in amazement. Why is it not attacking? Because we are not threatening it, Lisa replied. She kept her movements slow and calm, the way she would approach any unknown animal. Sam walked ahead, reading the ground signs. The creature has been here for at least 2 days, probably since right after the crash. Look at these tracks. It has made multiple trips between the ship and the forest, always carrying something. They reached the ship's hull and Jake activated his communicator. This is Captain Morrison from Research Station Kepler 442. Can anyone hear me? A voice crackled through the speaker immediately. Captain Morrison, thank the stars. This is Dr. Velkan. We are trapped in the emergency shelter. The predator is still out there. We can see the creature, Jake replied. How many survivors are with you? 4 of us remain. The beast killed Dr. Ithka, Dr. Rentoth, and Engineer Plexnir on the first day. We have been hiding ever since. Jake frowned. Something did not add up. Doctor, can you describe exactly what happened when your people were killed? There was a long pause. The creature appeared shortly after we crashed. It approached our ship and began making those terrible hunting calls. When Dr. Ithka tried to leave the ship to assess damage, the beast displayed its weapons and snarled at him. Dr. Ithka collapsed immediately. Collapsed how? Lisa asked. His heart stopped from pure terror. The sight of those claws and teeth was too much. Dr. Rentoth tried to help him, but when the creature snarled again, she also fell. Engineer Plexnir attempted to drag them back to safety, but the fear response killed him as well. Jake and Lisa exchanged looks. Dr. Velkan, did the creature actually touch or attack any of your people? What do you mean? It displayed its weapons and made its hunting calls. That is how Class 9 predators kill, through fear. Sam had been examining the area around the ship while they talked. Captain, he called quietly, you need to see this. Jake walked over to where Sam was kneeling, near 3 dark patches on the ground. What am I looking at? These are where the 3 researchers died, Sam explained. But look at this. He pointed to careful arrangements of soft leaves and moss around each spot. Someone covered the bodies respectfully. And see these? Sam indicated small piles of colorful flowers placed near each leaf covering. The creature did this, Jake asked. Had to be. These flowers do not grow near the crash site. Something carried them here from deeper in the forest. Sam stood up and brushed off his knees. Captain, this looks like mourning behavior. Meanwhile, the adult creature had moved closer to where they were talking. It was now only about 20 meters away, watching their every move with obvious intelligence. The juvenile appeared from behind the ship, carrying another piece of metal debris in its mouth. Dr. Velkan, Jake said into his communicator, we are going to try something. I want you to watch through your ship's external cameras. Captain, no, do not approach the predator. Jake ignored the warning and took several steps toward the adult creature. It tilted its head and made a soft, questioning sound. The same rumbling noise they had been hearing, but much quieter and gentler. Hello, Jake said in a calm, friendly voice. We are here to help. The creature's ears perked up. It took a small step forward, then stopped, as if waiting for permission to come closer. Dr. Velkan, what do you see on your cameras? Jake asked. The predator it is not attacking you. How is this possible? Lisa moved to stand beside Jake. Because it is not a predator, Doctor. At least not the kind you think it is. She pulled out her portable computer and activated a program. I am sending you some video files from Earth. These are creatures from our home world. The computer screen showed footage of wolves in their natural habitat. The images showed pack behavior, communication calls, and care for their young. Then it switched to domestic dogs playing with human children, bringing toys to their owners and guarding families. These creatures have claws, sharp teeth, and make loud vocalizations, Lisa explained. By your classification system, they would be Class 9 apex predators, but on Earth we call them our best friends. There was silence from the communicator for a long moment. That is impossible, Dr. Velkan finally said. Creatures with such weapons cannot be friendly. The juvenile creature had approached Jake and Lisa while they talked. It dropped the piece of metal at Jake's feet and looked up at him with bright, curious eyes. Its tail was wagging. Oh, you are just a baby, are you not? Lisa said softly, kneeling down to the young creature's level. It immediately tried to lick her face with an enormous pink tongue. The adult creature made a happy rumbling sound and moved closer. It nuzzled its offspring gently, then looked at the humans with what could only be described as gratitude. Dr. Velkan, Jake said, I think there has been a serious misunderstanding. This creature has not been hunting you. It has been trying to help you. Help us? How? Sam had been investigating the area around the ship more thoroughly. Captain, you need to see what I found behind the ship. They walked around to the rear of the vessel, followed by both creatures. There, arranged in neat piles, were dozens of local fruits, several small dead animals that looked like rabbits and what appeared to be medicinal plants. Food and medicine, Sam explained. The creature has been gathering supplies for the survivors. But that was not all. Near the ship's damaged engine section, the adult creature had clearly been attempting repairs. Large pieces of metal had been moved and repositioned, obviously trying to help fix the ship. The creature has been working to repair your ship, Jake told the communicator. Those metal pieces your people have been hearing moved around. It was trying to help you get home. The silence from the ship lasted several minutes. Finally, Dr. Velkan spoke in a very small voice. Are you telling me that what we thought was a deadly predator has actually been taking care of us? That is exactly what we are telling you, Lisa replied. She was now sitting on the ground with the juvenile creature sprawled across her lap like an enormous puppy. This species appears to be naturally helpful and protective. The adult creature approached Jake and gently touched his hand with its massive nose. Up close, Jake could see that its eyes held unmistakable intelligence and kindness. Dr. Velkan, Jake said, I think it is time for you and your team to come outside and meet your guardian angel. Dr. Velkan and his 3 surviving crew members slowly emerged from their emergency shelter. They moved like people walking to their own execution, trembling with every step. The adult creature watched them approach but stayed perfectly still, as if it understood that sudden movements might frighten them. It is so much larger than it appeared on the cameras, whispered Dr. Yelnara, a small Velthari researcher whose antenna kept twitching with fear. Those claws could tear through our ship's hull, added Engineer Takanas, staring at the creature's massive paws. Jake noticed that the adult creature had positioned itself between the survivors and the forest, almost like it was protecting them from other dangers that might come from the trees. Dr. Velkan, Jake said, I have called for a specialist from our station. He should be arriving any minute. As if summoned by his words, another shuttle appeared in the sky above them. It landed nearby, and a tall man with graying hair stepped out. Ben Parker had spent 30 years studying animal behavior on Earth and had volunteered to come help with this situation. So this is our misunderstood predator, Ben said, walking directly toward the large creature without any fear at all. Every alien present made sounds of terror and moved backward. Even Zeftai, who had been getting braver, retreated behind the crashed ship. Mr. Parker, please be careful, Dr. Velkan called out. Ben ignored the warning and continued walking slowly toward the creature. Hello, beautiful, he said in a soft, calm voice. You have been taking good care of everyone, have you not? The creature's ears perked up, and it tilted its head, clearly listening to Ben's tone rather than his words. It made a quiet rumbling, sound that was obviously curious rather than threatening. That is right, Ben continued, stopping just a few feet away from the massive animal. You are a good girl, are you not? He extended his hand toward the creature's nose. The watching aliens gasped and several closed their eyes, expecting to see Ben torn apart by those terrible claws and teeth. Instead, the creature gently sniffed. Ben's hand then licked it with a tongue the size of a dinner plate. Ben laughed and reached up to scratch behind the creature's ears. Oh, you like that, do you? Ben said as the creature made happy, rumbling sounds and leaned into his touch. I thought you might. Dr. Velcon stared in complete shock. This is impossible. Class 9 predators do not display affectionate behavior. The juvenile creature, not to be left out, bounded over to Ben and immediately began the universal behavior of young animals everywhere. It rolled over on its back, showing its belly and wiggling happily. Ben knelt down and began rubbing the young one's stomach while it made delighted squeaking sounds. Ben, Lisa called out, I think you have made some new friends. Actually, Ben replied, still playing with the juvenile, I think Mama here has been trying to adopt all of you. Look at this behavior. He pointed to how the adult creature kept looking back and forth between the humans and the Velthari survivors. She is trying to include everyone in her pack. Sam had been watching the interaction with growing amusement. Ben, you should see what she has been doing. Food gathering, attempting repairs, even burial services for the ones who died. Classic. Pack behavior. Ben nodded. She sees beings in distress and her instinct is to help and protect them. He stood up and walked over to the adult creature, who immediately lowered her massive head so he could pet her more easily. You are just a big softy, are you not, girl? The creature made a sound that was unmistakably happy, a deep, contented rumbling that vibrated through her entire body. Lisa had been won over completely by the juvenile, who was now following her around like an enormous puppy. Look at this little one, she said, laughing as it tried to carry her equipment pack in its mouth. You just want to help, do you not, sweetie? The young creature dropped the pack and pounced on Lisa, knocking her to the ground and trying to lick her face with enthusiastic affection. Lisa laughed and hugged the massive puppy as it wiggled with joy. Oh, you are just a spoiled murder puppy, are you not? Lisa cooed, scratching behind its ears as it made happy whining sounds. Yes, you are. You are Mama's spoiled little murder puppy. The adult creature seemed to approve of this interaction. She walked over and gently nuzzled Lisa with her enormous head, clearly accepting her as part of the pack. Jake watched the scene with amazement. Ben, in all your years of animal behavior study, have you ever seen anything like this? Actually, yes, Ben replied. This is exactly how domesticated dogs behave when they find stray animals or lost humans. The protective instinct, the food gathering, the adoption behavior. It is all perfectly normal for a species that has evolved to be helpful rather than harmful. Dr. Velcon approached very slowly, still trembling but clearly fascinated. But the size, the claws, the teeth are tools, Ben explained patiently. Just like a human's hands can be used to build or destroy, these physical features can be used for protection or for hunting. The key is understanding the species' social structure and motivations. The adult creature noticed Dr. Velcon's nervous approach and made a very soft, gentle sound, almost like a whisper. Then she slowly lowered herself to the ground, making herself appear smaller and less threatening. She is trying to make you feel safer, Ben explained. Look at her body language. Ears forward but relaxed, tail still, head lowered. She is showing you that she means no harm. Dr. Velcon took another step closer. The sounds she make, we thought they were hunting calls. Communication, Ben corrected. She has been trying to talk to you for 2 days. Those rumbling sounds are how her species shows concern and offers help. The juvenile creature had found a stick and brought it to Sam, dropping it at his feet and looking up expectantly. Sam laughed and threw the stick, which the young one immediately chased with obvious delight. A Class 9 apex predator playing fetch. Sam called out, This is definitely going in my report. Engineer Toknes had been watching everything with growing wonder. If this is true, if these creatures are actually helpful instead of harmful, then we have been wrong about dozens of species throughout the galaxy. Probably hundreds, Jake agreed. How many first contact opportunities have been lost because species were classified as too dangerous to approach? Ben had managed to convince the adult creature to lie down completely and was now giving her a thorough belly rub while she made sounds of pure contentment. The massive predator looked remarkably like an oversized dog enjoying attention from her favorite human. The real question, Ben said as he scratched the creature's stomach, is what we are going to call this species. They obviously need a proper classification. Well, Lisa said, still playing with the juvenile who was now chewing happily on her boot. I vote for something that reflects their true nature instead of their appearance. The adult creature rolled over and gently took Ben's hand in her mouth, not biting but just holding it softly while looking at him with obvious affection. How about gentle giants? Jake suggested. Or guardian angels, added Sam. Dr. Velcon, who had finally worked up the courage to touch the adult creature's fur, looked up with tears in his compound eyes. I think, he said quietly, we should call them friends. 3 weeks after the rescue mission, Research Station Kepler 442 looked very different. The adult creature, who the crew had named Stella, had somehow convinced herself that the entire station was now her responsibility. She patrolled the corridors, twice each day, checking on everyone and making sure they were safe and happy. Her offspring, named Bandit by the human crew, had become the station's unofficial mascot. Right now, the young creature was sprawled across Dr. Zeftai's desk while the Velthari scientist worked on his daily reports. Every few minutes, Bandit would lift his massive head and gently lick Zeftai's arm, as if reminding him to take breaks. I still cannot believe I was afraid of him, Zeftai said to Jake, who was reviewing the morning status reports. Look at this face. How could anyone think this was dangerous? Bandit's amber eyes were half closed with contentment, and his tongue was hanging out slightly. He looked exactly like what Lisa had called him, a spoiled puppy who happened to be the size of a small car. Jake smiled as he watched Stella approach Engineer Toknes, who was working on repairs near the main viewport. The enormous creature gently picked up a dropped tool in her mouth and handed it back to him. Toknes patted her head gratefully and continued working. The Galactic Research Consortium wants a full report on our findings, Jake told Zeftai. They are having trouble believing that an entire species classification system needs to be rewritten. Dr. Amy Foster, the xenopsychologist who had arrived the week before, entered the room carrying a stack of data tablets. Jake, you need to see these results. I have been analyzing behavioral patterns from 17 different species that were previously classified as Class 7 through Class 9 predators. She activated a holographic display that showed video footage from various planets throughout the galaxy. Look at this footage from the Andrus system. The creatures the colonists call Deathstalkers have actually been leaving food outside their settlements for 3 years. The video showed large bear-like creatures carefully placing fruits and vegetables near human colonies, then retreating to watch from a distance. And here, Amy continued, switching to another video, the shadow hunters of Kepler 186b. They only appear when colonists are in danger, and they always guide lost travelers back to safety. Jake watched footage of sleek, cat-like creatures leading confused human explorers through dangerous terrain, always staying just close enough to be followed but far enough away to avoid frightening them. How many species are we talking about? Jake asked. At least 43 that I can identify from existing records, Amy replied. Probably more once we start actively looking for this behavior pattern. Ben Parker entered the command center, followed closely by Stella, who had apparently decided that he needed an escort. The behavioral analysis is fascinating, he said, scratching behind Stella's ears. These species seem to have evolved specifically to help other life forms. It is like they are natural caretakers. But why? Zeftai asked. What evolutionary advantage would that provide? Think about it, Lisa said, joining the conversation. She had Bandit walking beside her like an enormous, well-trained dog. If your species' survival strategy is to make allies instead of enemies, you would have protection from multiple sources. Other species would help defend you because you helped them. Commander Ryan Mitchell, the diplomatic officer who had arrived that morning, was taking notes rapidly. The political implications are staggering. We have entire sectors of space that have been declared off-limits because of dangerous predator species. Some of those areas have resources that could benefit the entire galaxy. More importantly, Jake said, we have dozens of species that we have never tried to communicate with because we were too afraid to approach them. Stella had wandered over to the communication console and was watching the displays with obvious interest. She made a soft questioning sound, and Ben laughed. I think she wants to know what we are talking about, Ben said. These creatures are Incredibly intelligent. I would not be surprised if they can be taught to use technology, as if to prove his point. Bandit gently pressed a button on Zeftai's desk with his nose. The screen displayed a star map of the local sector. Bandit tilted his head and made a small sound, then looked at the assembled humans and aliens expectantly. Did he just ask us to show him where other planets are? Amy asked in amazement. I think he did, Jake replied. Ben, how quickly could we teach them basic communication? With their intelligence level? Probably within a few months, maybe sooner. Dr. Velkon's voice came through the communication system. Captain Morrison, we are receiving a transmission from the Galactic Research Consortium. They want to speak with you immediately. Jake activated the main screen and the image of Chancellor Rixatar appeared. The elderly Technari leader looked very serious. Captain Morrison, the Chancellor said, we have received your preliminary report about the reclassification of the species you encountered. Are you certain of your findings? Completely certain, Chancellor. These creatures pose no threat to anyone. In fact, they appear to actively protect other species. The implications of this discovery are enormous, Chancellor Rixtar continued. If you are correct, we need to completely reorganize our approach to interspecies contact. We may have missed opportunities for alliances with dozens of species. Stella had moved to stand next to Jake as if she sensed the importance of the conversation. Her presence was oddly comforting. Chancellor, Jake said, I recommend that we begin immediate peaceful contact missions to planets with previously classified dangerous species. But these missions should be led by humans. Why humans specifically? Because, Jake replied, looking down at Stella, who was watching the screen with interest. Humans have thousands of years of experience turning dangerous predators into beloved family members. We seem to have a natural ability to see past teeth and claws to the personality underneath. Chancellor Rixtar considered this. Very well, Captain. The consortium authorizes you to begin organizing these contact missions, but I want detailed reports on every encounter. After the transmission ended, the command center fell quiet. Everyone was thinking about the magnitude of what they had discovered. You know what this means? Lisa said finally. We are about to make the galaxy a much friendlier place. Bandit chose that moment to approach Chancellor Rixtar's image, which was still displayed on the screen. He gently touched the display with his nose, then looked back at the group and wagged his tail. I think he approves, Ben laughed. Jake stood at the observation window, looking out at the stars. Stella joined him, pressing her massive head against his shoulder in a gesture of friendship and trust. You know, girl, Jake said quietly, I think you and your kind are going to change everything. Stella made a soft, contented rumbling sound and settled down beside him. In the distance, Jake could see other ships approaching the station, the first of many diplomatic missions that would reshape how the galaxy thought about predators, protection, and friendship. The age of fear was ending. The age of friendship had begun.